Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. Well, I finally got my hands on some of the green-handled icon tools. Now they're advertising mostly it is just these screwdrivers and these mini picks, but in reality Icon does have a set of green-handled T-hex wrenches, and if you go to Harbor Freight, the Pittsburgh folks have been on the green bandwagon for quite a while, as has U.S. General, both for their toolboxes and for their accessories. And I've got a bunch of the U.S. General green accessories. That's what's on my Snap-on toolboxes that are green. And in reality, they're a lot more affordable, and it's a lot better green. Like I wanted a paper towel holder, and then I also wanted, you know, a work towel holder, and so I got one that wasn't U.S. General. It's the only green one I could find, and that's as green as it is. But let's talk about that green, because that green may have a scientific basis for its appeal. What I'm saying is that there may be a reason why this particular shade of green, not this green, but this green, is appealing to a lot of people. Now, I threw some Snap-ons in here to see if you'd notice. Snap-ons don't have quite as much green real estate as do the icons, and there are a few other differences I'll get into. But when you think about green, well, green is a color. Colors are basically reflected wavelengths, or emitted wavelengths too if you've got a light source, and those wavelengths have a size, and the size within a certain set of nanometers is what the human eye can see. Obviously you go higher, you know, or shorter wavelengths, you go to ultraviolet or X-rays or gamma rays, you go longer, you get into infrared, and then radio waves, you know, that can be miles in wavelength. But this particular green, as far as I can tell, and I was having a little trouble with my spectrometer because it's not really for reflected light, but I'm going to keep working, see if I can get the number exact. But this is really close to 555 nanometers. And why is that important? 555 nanometers is the wavelength of light that the human eye is most sensitive to, at least with color. There's also, I mean, we have two photo systems. You got a scotopic and photopic. So the photopic is the one that we use for color vision. It's mostly centered in the fovea. That's a 20-degree circle in your retina. But anyway, this actually is the most sensitive color. In other words, we pick this up much faster, which is also why a lot of sighting tools that you put on other tools have gone with a green dot rather than a red dot. Red is not something we are actually all that attracted to. I guess I shouldn't say attracted to. We're not biologically picking it up. So that's why they also got rid of hunter's red. That used to be the color you had to wear if you were hunting, kind of like plaid. But you couldn't see it in a lot of cases, and it really didn't snap out. But now this green, at least in the 555 nanometer range, is really the one that your eye just jumps to. And in fact, I was digging through looking for other colors. I could not find this ratchet in my toolbox for a while. It was sitting there with the rest of them, with my green one and my yellow one and my orange one and my red one and my purple one, but this one just disappeared into the background. Maybe that's what you want. Oddly, I found this one before I found that one. So maybe basic chrome might be even more appealing to the eye. But anyway, so 550 nanometers, what does that translate to? Well, I'll show you some graphs here. Sorry to get into all nerdy stuff, but if you take a look at this, what you see is that 550 nanometer peak, and that is in the kind of the greenish to greenish yellow area. It's still solid in the green, but it's on the yellowish side. You can see red drops down, violet, oddly. Sorry, Matco folks, but it might be appealing. It's the color of royalty, but it definitely does not strike the eye, you know, with the same intensity. Same with blue. The cyan picking up speed along with yellow, and then orange is still up there pretty high, and I love a good orange tool. So, you know, if you look at the Snap-on pry bars or even their older screwdrivers, those have appeal to me. There's just something about those, you know, but in reality, it's not a huge difference between these, so you're welcome to you know, choose any of them for any scientific reason you want. However, that green does have something special about it. Now here's another graph that kind of shows you a little bit closer of what the actual green color looks like across the green spectrum, say 500 nanometers to maybe 580 nanometers, something like that. That's something where people might call it green. They might start calling it a blue-green or a yellow-green. But anyway, you can see that right there, boom, that's the color of the icon and the snap-on. So anyway, let's talk about the handles. So here are two kind of comparable sized green handles, the icon and the snap-on. Obviously no USA branding on the icon because they're made in Taiwan. Here's a look at, let me grab a comparable one here, like this. You can see the tips. Snap-on's got their kind of bead blasted. Some companies just paint or dip their handles, and you can see they also have scored them. Even I've had this set for quite a while. Some of these I might have swapped out, maybe not. But anyway, you can see there's a little bit of texture up there. It's a lot more apparent, say on the larger ones like this number 3. You can see that's a deliberate thing. You can watch videos online of Snap-on doing that. What do we see on icon? Wow, kind of the same thing. This, I'm not feeling much of a texture difference. Rubbing my nail over it. You can see, try to get those up close right there. So let's try a comparison here. This one's kind of old. What I'm going to use is a newer one. I've got a set of them here. Believe it or not, this old Snap-on here. I have new blades in all 3 of these. This one, maybe that's an older one there. I love the red. So I've got an old orange and an old black handle with brand new blades. Here's a number 2 and a number 1. What I'm going to do is take this and compare it directly to this icon. So don't worry about the handle being old. The blade is brand new because I always warranty these out when I mess them up. So there's an exact match. And I'm going to take a screw here. This is number 2 Phillips, and put it on the icon. I'll push it down on there tight. That's the grip there. I'll do it now with the snap-on. Look at that. So the snap-on grabs it a lot harder. Can just drop it in there. Whereas the icon does not. Now I've done things with the Milwaukee screwdrivers. If I hold it, oh, there we go. Closer. The Milwaukees really grab it, but they're supposed to. That's kind of their claim to fame. But anyway, back to the green handles. They are a tri-lobe, and I do like that. I'm pleased with the tri-lobe on the Snap-on. I've done videos why I think that. It's kind of matches that third of a rotation that the human hand naturally grabs, whereas the quarters always kind of, or the fourths, for some reason, not only the shape, they kind of bother my hand a little bit, you know, if I'm turning. And you tend to turn them either less or too much, and that causes a little bit of wrist anxiety. But as far as the narrowness, the rubber, I do like the icon fit. It's nice handle, although I'm still a big Instinct Snap-on fan. However, look at this. This is a smaller tri-lobe one, and I do like this. Snap-on, I think, would benefit. Sometimes on their screwdriver kits, they go down to the hard handles when they get to the small stuff. They don't have the rubberized one. The rubberized ones are saved for their ratcheting screwdriver system, but that's kind of nice. Let me grab a ratcheting screwdriver one. Okay, so here's the 2 Snap-ons. This is the one that you often get in the kit for their smaller ones, and I truly hate these. I've done videos on that. They are the most slippery, awkward. They just scaled down. It's like they cut out the middle and assumed for some reason that would work in the hand, and it really doesn't. I mean, there are worse, but not by much in my book anyway. So here's the tri-lobe that's, you know, if you get into their ratcheting system, and you can see, obviously, this has got a lot more weight in it, a lot more stuff going on. This is a nice idea. I think Snap-on should Harbor Freight it and make some of their smaller handles like these stubby Instincts, kind of. I don't know, let me know what you think. But anyway, I'm glad to see icons going in the green direction. It's kind of neat that, you know, Snap-on's going to have to up their game. They put a lot of effort into the original Instinct, but it hasn't really changed much in, well over a decade. I don't know if it needs to, but I think there are some benefits. The bolster's another area I thought was kind of interesting. So if you take a look at a larger, like a number 3 snap-on here and a number 3 icon, you can see the snap-on has a much larger place for a wrench than the icon. But if you go to, let's go to some smaller ones, oh, disappears right away on the icon. In fact, only the 2 largest have that extra where you can grab it, whereas the snap-on continues on down. Let's see, I guess that's the smallest I've got out here, but anyway, there's 3 examples, a 1, 2, and 3 Phillips, and all 3 of them have the place to attach a wrench, should that be something you want. Now, my suggestion for Harbor Freight is look into the hard handles as well. There's a lot of times I don't want to use something like this because it's going to get dirty. Sometimes static builds up if I'm using them around dirt, and then suddenly, the handle's all dirty. Yeah, I know, clean tools and all that, but sometimes it's, harder to clean off. These can be nice. I want the option. That's what I'm all about. But if you're also wanting to compare, here is the icon pick color and the green and the new. That's what it looks like. Up close versus a snap-on. I do like that, not necessarily on the picks, but on the screwdrivers. I think that's important. So, fairly similar. Let me grab an equivalent. Here we go. So that's the mechanism at the bottom end. That would be more of a pry or a pick video, not a pry bar video. So there you go. Anyway, good on Icon for doing that. It's going to cause people to, I guess the snap-on's a little thicker, doesn't fit. That's why I put the snap-ons in here to see. Gives me an idea. But anyway, there it is, Icon green in the wild. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you'd switch, and let me know if there is a color that you both really like and if there's any you really hate. And with that, Doc out.